Mr. McDowell is going to offer our invocation.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you for this opportunity, Lord, that we can be together tonight. Lord, I thank you for each and every one of the families here that represent the students of this school system. Lord, I thank you for this school system. Lord, I lift up to you all that we discussed tonight, and I ask that everything we do is pleasing you, and it's for the safety of our students, our staff, and all our administrators. Lord, I ask that you will be with those that our students that have been affected by this virus. We've got some that are, as you know, in the hospital as to be. But Lord, again, I thank you for all that you do. For us in your Son Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. You have the agenda before you. We can adopt it by consent. If that works for everyone. All right. First of all, I'll say thank you for all of our attendees tonight. Probably the most well-attended school board meeting we've had in my 17 years of being on this board. Thank you for being here. We'll continue along with the agenda. Dr. Miller, I believe there's a couple of presentations.
Yes, sir. First, we have Ms. Stacy Beaver and Mr. Blair Johnston from Technology. They're going to come and share with the board about smart panel, touch panels for the classroom.
Good afternoon. I wanted to present and talk about the potential for touch panels in the classrooms. Earlier this year, last school year, we had something presented to us, the American Rescue Plan, that presented so much money to each school system that would allow you to use it for improving your learning for students, those for either distance learning or learning from home, or to bridge that gap in learning. One of the options we looked at, and I talked to Dr. Miller about, was the addition of touch panels to the classrooms. These touch panels would go in every single classroom in front of the rooms, would take the place of the existing projectors. And they have a lot of benefits too, and I can go through some of those if you need me to. But we're looking at the purchase of these panels, and as we did some demos and made a choice on which one we wanted, we did a bid on the Georgia Procurement site, and we sent it out for bid. We got 5 bids back, and the winner I've got here. Originally we had to make some estimations back in the spring of how much that would cost. I mean, and I think originally we estimated about $3 million. The bid that came in, the winning bid, was about $1.5 million, so it came in well under, and that's a turnkey operation. So
Can you mark that down?
yeah, but they have a lot of great benefits. One of the things I wanted to mention is, you know, we're this group of schools, every school had made choices in previous years about which technology they wanted to use to distribute that curriculum. The middle schools were using Promethean boards. You know, one of the elementary schools had smart boards, and so this is also bringing us an opportunity to unify the technologies. Every single classroom will have the same piece of technology in it. No matter where a teacher goes, if they transfer in school or transfer inside the building, they'll have the same piece of technology. So every classroom, every instructional space, which would include the media centers too. So, and one of the other things we're wanting to do with that, and something that we want to make sure, is that we train our teachers on how to use it. So there's a secondary proposal for professional development, and it would lay out, we've got a matrix. It was kind of like we worked with this company to develop that professional development over the course of several weeks. It was 2 weeks, 4 weeks, but every teacher would have the opportunity during the planning period to come in and get training on it, so they could learn how to do it, learn to use the different functions. There's a lot of different functions on it. The teachers can display what's on their computer if they want to teach from their desk, or they can go up to the front and teach from there. There's also a whiteboard app that integrates with Google, our Google environment. It does very well. It also has like all-call system. You can principal can send a message out to every panel, and delivering a message, delivering a video, or delivering an emergency message. So there's a lot of benefits to that too. It's kind of a unifying piece that connects to our network. So Like I said, the panels were about $1.5 million. The professional development was about $88,000. And that's gonna be, if, with approval, would be covered under the American Rescue Plan. Y'all have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Ms. Ford?
What are you gonna do with all the old technology, the smart boards and the Promethean?
So that's a great question. The Promethean boards are first and second generation. Most of them do not work anymore. So we've held them as long as we can. The ones that do work, we're gonna try to keep some of those, although every instructional space is covered, so I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do with it, but the projectors, we're gonna try to keep as well.
And this is like this projector.
Correct.
So that would be,
Yes.
Would there be another school system that could maybe use?
Potentially, there's I don't know if it's gray or if it's black and white, but I know a lot of school systems, some school systems may buy used, but I don't know many that do. It's, usually that's something with the comptroller that they don't wanna buy something used.
any other questions?
Where on the physical, what's the physical size of these ones?
So each classroom, the standard classroom will get a 75-inch panel. These are 4K panels. They stick off the wall about 3 or 4 inches from the mount. The 75-inch, the media centers will get a freestanding on a rolling cart that's 86-inch with a PC built in, so they can move freely anywhere in the rooms.
And we feel like that size board our students can see from.
Yes, I labored over that, thought about it tremendously. I mean, I didn't want to buy too small, but 75 is the sweet spot.
Okay.
And the jump in price from 75 to 86 was substantial, so. But I asked several districts and got the recommendation from the manufacturer, and 75 was the right size.
And the Promethean boards are 72, so it is a little bigger than the Promethean board that they have in there now. But
Any other questions? Well, thank you for your presentation. I guess that will come up in an action item at some point in the near future. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our August 9th and August 30th meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
so
Have a motion from Ms. Lang. Is there a second? Second from Dr. Newell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Passes 5-0. The next item is our financial statement from the month of July. I believe Dr. Miller has some comments about that before we look at that.
Yes, sir. You will notice that the financial statements are for July 2021. This is a requirement of Senate Bill 68 concerning financial statements, which requires two things. First, a budget to actual comparison at the aggregate function level. And second, a list of outstanding purchase orders for the end of the month. These are obligations that the system has. The new requirement means we'll have financial statements every month from now on. The financial statements will be 2 months behind, which is in accordance with the letter of this new law. This is per the recommendation of our attorney.
What is the pleasure of the board as it relates to the financial statements?
move to approve.
Have a motion from Ms. Lang. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Ford. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Passes 5-0. Next item is the consent agenda. Dr. Miller, any comments there?
It's a brief consent agenda today. There are 13 recommendations for employment, 3 reassignments, 4 resignations, 1 retirement, 1 termination, 1 correction to a previous agenda, 1 facility use request, 5 fundraisers, and 4 out-of-state or overnight field trips.
What is the pleasure of the board as it relates to the consent agenda?
Move to accept.
Have a motion from Ms. Lang. Is there a second? Second. Second from Dr. Newell. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Mr. Dowling, I did notice the addition to our agenda was one of the individuals that is, the technology specialist over, with Mr. Johnson. I noticed also that he lost one of the person. Do we have, applications that he can look at, because those are kind of specialized positions?
He and I are gonna get together, the next day or two and discuss that and see if we need to post, in Frontline for another position, which we probably will, so. But I think he's got some from last time, when he hired the newest person, but we'll still post in our application system and see what else is out there and who else might be interested.
We just don't have very many in that department, and
Yep.
losing two individuals to be
Yep.
able to service as many schools and as much technology as we have is significant. I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
concerned about that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Passes 5-0. Next, we have Dr. Miller's report.
Yes, sir. We have, first of all, for SPLOST collections for August came in at $410,757.88. This is the best total ever for the month of August. We surpassed $400,000 in collections for the 5th time in just 8 months so far this year. At the present rate, the current eSPLOST will cap out early, which is great news. Any questions? Under food service report and procurement plan, there are 3 items that you can see in the agenda. In August, there were 61,000 meals served in the cafeteria and through food distribution during remote learning. 1,250 meals were served from 4 locations over 3 days during remote learning. I really appreciate the hard work and leadership of our food service team to keep providing meals for our students while we were temporarily closed. Finally, you have a copy of the procurement plan. This is our plan for purchasing food, supplies, services, and equipment for the food service program, and we're just sharing that as information. I'll sign that, and we have to provide a copy of that to the state. Under transportation, this month's report has a variety of information, including protocols on buses, a training class for new drivers. We got 2 new drivers from our most recent training class. And parking lot construction. The parking lot is moving right around. Paving should begin this week, and our hope is the project will be finished by October. Under plant operations, Ms. Goody will pull up the PowerPoint there, and you can look at that. You have a copy also. The plant operations report includes a list of projects, as you can see there. They stay very busy. A picture of some of the schools, Middle West, Toes, Hallways, and Lee County Elementary School. The team, it's not in the report, but I did want to share, I was over at Alternative School one day last week with Mr. Edmondson, and the team has prepared a new classroom on that campus. It was a room that was used for another purpose, but we've opened up an additional instructional space, and they've built the cubicles, and computers are set up, the desks are in there, they're ready to go. So we hope to make use of that in the near future. Finally, I'm proud to say that we have 4 new hires in grounds, which is great. You know, we've kind of had a struggle there, and with all the rain we've gotten, it's been a real chore to keep up with keeping our 300 plus acres of grass that we have cut. Finally, in health services report, the school nurses had a busy month. Even with part of the time being remote learning, you can see from health services report that there were 1,949 visits to the clinic in August. And I went back and checked the same report this time last year. That's about 436 more than last year, which speaks to the numbers we had with COVID early in the year. As of today, the COVID numbers are improving. We have 45 positives involving students or staff in the system. Of that number, only 8 were in school, meaning they were actually symptomatic while at school. And this is, we want that number to be 0, but it's much better than what it's been being. We've had 5 staff hospitalized since the start of school year. They all have returned home safely. And there's been 2 students hospitalized. One is still in the hospital, as Mr. McDowell mentioned in his prayer. Today, we had to take one of our pre-K classes and close it for the rest of the week due to there were 3 cases in one class, and that was unfortunate, but we're still seeing better numbers. The community numbers are actually looking a little better than they've been being, and we hope that that is promising for the future, because we tend to reflect to some degree what's going on in the community, and some of the metrics that we look at are cases per 100,000. That was down today, and then also the infection rate was as low as it's been in a month today. So that's good news for us going forward. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Last month, we approved quite a few substitutes.
Yes, sir.
Have they all got in place and been utilized?
Yeah, well, we have need for them for sure, and there were some more on tonight's consent agenda, so I can't speak if every single one has been used, but
Making use of what we can.
yes, sir, we're in a much better position now than we were. You know, that was one of the reasons we had to go with remote learning, was the staffing shortage we had due to COVID, but we feel confident that we have enough, and someone was here today inquiring about it, so we've had a good steady flow of people, and if anybody's interested, we need good substitute teachers. It's great work, and it get to work with children and shaping their lives and being an important person. And I started out substitute teaching, so and a lot of our educators in this room likewise, so it's a good opportunity that people would like to avail themselves of.
Any other questions? All right. Moved on to the public participation part of our meeting. Let me explain how the public participation portion works. This is a new thing for us. This is our first actual public participation section where we actually had someone sign up for public participation. State law changed in that this is a meeting of the school board, the business meeting that we conduct. State law changed to allow on July the 1st, or to require on July the 1st, a section for public comment. We've always welcomed public comment, but this is the first time it just was put into the law for us to make it a part of our agenda. So tonight we have our speaker that's signed up, I believe Mr. Scott. Come on in, and we will have you. The protocol we have in place is you have 5 minutes. Yes, we will be glad to listen to you.
All right, I'll try my best to get it all out in 5 minutes. Thank you, board members, for this opportunity to speak to you, the staff, administration that are here. Anyone else that might have a say in this administration, school boards, anything, I appreciate your time and your listening. My name is Scott Golden. I'm married. I have 3 boys that attend 3 separate schools in this community. One in the high school, one in the middle school, one in the elementary. So pretty spread out as far as that goes. I'm an Army veteran, served my country honorably for 7 years. Got out with an honorable discharge, and have moved on into the civilian life. I'm here today to ask some questions for those in attendance, the members of the board, the administration, pretty much anyone here that can answer them, that'd be great. And to share some facts that I found along the way. When I was born, well, we won't go into that, but God in the Constitution, when I was born, gave me my rights and freedoms that each one of us in this room enjoy today. I see a lot of you have chosen to wear a mask today. That's great. Some of you have chosen not to. That's one of the great things about this country, is you have a choice. My major issue is the fact that moving forward, how are we going to judge what we're doing? I spoke with Dr. Miller a few times on the phone once and in person once this past week, and he gave me some insight to this. But when we came back to school this time, there was no virtual option for the kids that chose not to come back. But if I were to call the school and say my kid was sick, they would immediately get makeup work sent back to them. I don't understand that policy. I don't know if that was something lost in translation in the schools themselves, but that's definitely happening, and it's a big issue that I've seen personally. The separation and segregation, okay, of the kids in the classrooms, putting kids in separate rooms because they chose not to wear a mask to school. I don't know why we're back to that. I thought we were getting away from segregation. I thought that's what protests and stuff were for this summer, was to stop segregating people because of race, color, and creed. But yet we're still doing it because you chose to mandate, well, obviously not you, it was the administration, chose to mandate a mask for all kids with no options to opt out. As a parent, I take that personally because I didn't get an option for this. You send home every year Tylenol or ibuprofen. If you want to give that to your child, you have to sign a consent form and send that back. That's for Tylenol. And now you're going to make more medical decisions for our children. I think that we should have more say in that. Or at least you elected officials on this board should have more say, as opposed to these unelected officials in the administration here that making all the decisions. Okay? I don't understand how we've gotten to that point. We elect you to speak for us, but then you give power to a superintendent, assistant superintendents, and principals that make all the procedure policies that supersede everything that you've covered here today, cover anytime. It doesn't matter what this board says. They can overdo and go over your head and do whatever they want, and that's got to stop. Something has to be done. Some kind of policy has to be put into place to stop that kind of thing. Also, another thing that struck me as kind of interesting was that the administration and the head nurse are the ones that oversee the numbers of COVID. They input these numbers into the computer, which passes to, I'm assuming, to everyone here and all the rest of the administration. And then from that, we base our procedures off of those numbers. But it's the same people that are putting the numbers in that are making the procedure changes. That sounds like a conflict of interest to me. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but it seems like something's not right there either. And maybe the board should look into this. It's something that definitely needs to be addressed. State and federal funding. If that is what's dictating what we're doing, like the federal government is doing right now, that needs to stop too. Because it's going to be found out and we're going to know. You can't dictate stuff based on how much money you're getting from the state and federal government. Some of the answers I'm getting, which by the way, I only talked with one board member up here. I emailed each and every one of you, but I only got one response back. He called me the same day. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Green. And like I said, I spoke with Dr. Miller. So these are the only two things that I have to go off of. I don't like to do hearsay, and if somebody told me, I like to speak directly to each one of you and get your viewpoints on this. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that for today. The PCR tests have been shown to be flawed, and we continue to go off of those numbers like they're Bible. The CDC itself has shown you where they have falsified numbers or accidentally put the wrong numbers in, whatever, and has come back and redacted those numbers and brought them down. We can't use these numbers as our only basis of we're going to mask our children, if we're going to keep them at home, or we're going to segregate them, or we're going to put them in separate rooms, or we're going to space them 12 feet apart. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. The carrot keeps dangling. If you do this, this, and this, then you keep moving forward. But yet on Friday nights, we've got thousands of people in a football stadium sitting closer than these people in this room right now, cheering and yelling and spitting on each other and whatever they're drinking going all over people. And it's okay, because it's Friday, right? When we didn't have school, we had football on Friday. Well, that's great. I'm a big advocate for sports in school. I played them in high school, and my kids all play sports. So I love sports. I think they teach kids a lot of great things more than just sports itself. But unfortunately, we put money and sports programs above our school and our kids' education. We've got our priorities mixed up. And somebody needs to answer to that, and somebody needs to fix that immediately. Because us as a community, we see those things. The POTUS can stand up and say whatever he wants. I really don't care. This is directly about our freedoms, and this is directly about the democracy in this country up for grabs right now. Okay? I'm not going to stand here and continue to allow this to happen. 12,000, I think is what we discussed, about 12,000 plus parents in this community, about 6,300 children, but yet not one parent in this room or outside this room got a phone call. We got an email 5 days before you threw a mask on our kids. No chance to opt out, and if you don't come to school, you don't get educated. How about that? Did you know that? Were you aware of that? If you didn't put a mask on that day, you got sent home with no education, no virtual option? Okay. We can sit back with our hands underneath our laps or underneath our legs and act like our hands are tied because of a superintendent, assistant superintendents, or administration has all the control. No, you guys were elected. We elected you because you stood for us. I've heard many great things from some of you tonight about our kids and what are we going to do with the extra stuff? What are we going to do with the stuff we're getting rid of? So you do honestly care about our children. It's your voices we want to hear from, not people that aren't elected. If they are not elected and making all these decisions, then maybe we need to go back and look at that. 1990s is when we stopped electing superintendents. If you look at Florida, they're doing a lot of good things down there. Maybe we need to follow the same model here in Georgia. They seem to be getting it on the right pace and going in the right way. So, like I said, I really don't care what the POTUS has to say, but he is the president. So, unfortunately, he has a lot of willpower, and he blames everything on the unvaccinated and the swine that don't wear their mask every day. But yet, there's been no proof that masks stop this virus from transmitting or spreading at all. If you look on the side of the box itself, yes.
Going 7 minutes.
Okay, all right, a few more, I'm gonna wrap this up.
All right,
A few more. The masks themselves on the box say they don't protect you from transmitting or spreading viruses. So, I mean, let's be real. If the box itself that the manufacturer sent out says it doesn't work, then why are we pretending that it does? To kind of sum this up, and I missed a whole lot of stuff I wanted to say, but I'll leave you with this. Cornell University, back in 2020, I think April timeframe, they decided that they were going to mandate vaccinations on campus, and that all people, when they return back to their campus, would be tested regularly and will wear a mask everywhere they go. 95% of the campus is vaccinated as started the school year this year. As of right now, there's 304 positive cases on campus. 304. Now, last year they only had 300 cases all semester, the whole time. So why so many cases if so many people are vaccinated, wearing their mask and social distancing and doing the things they're doing? Maybe it's because those things don't work. So we can keep pretending they do and keep using preventive measures to stop something that's not going to stop it. So you keep getting your state and federal funding, okay? While playing football on Fridays, softball, whatever other sports we're playing here, unmasked, just the same distance from everybody, with the same kids we're in school with. It's not different kids. It's the same kids we go to school with that had to have a mask on from 8 to 5, but after that it's good to go. There's no COVID after school, right?
Okay.
We need to look at the policy. Thank you all very much for your time.
First of all, thank you for your service to our country.
Yes, sir.
That's meant from the bottom of my heart, and so thank you for being here tonight. In future board meetings, for those who'd like to speak to the board, please feel free to register. You have to register before 9 a.m. on the morning of our meetings, and we'll get you on the agenda to speak to the board as a whole. So tonight, that ends our public participation time, and we'll move on with the rest of the board.
I called the superintendent's office to request to speak tonight. I'm not sure if I was added to the agenda.
Unfortunately, you were not, but we'll be glad to hear from you at the next meeting. Thank you. All right, moving on to discussion and action items. We have the first item on the list of requests for the approval of the academic and athletic supplements. Dr. Miller.
Included with this memo are the 2021-2022 athletic and academic supplement listings recommended by the principals. There are some positions which remain vacant and will be filled later, so you'll see a blank on those where the name should be. They'll be filled at a later time. And you also got an updated agenda with a yellow highlighted where we had an incorrect name, so we provide that with you. This is about $11,350 difference between last year. The increases included basketball, soccer, tennis, freshman football, varsity, assistant, and volleyball head coach. So that represents about $11,350.
What is the pleasure of the board as it relates to this request for approval?
Have to approve the supplements.
We have a motion from Ms. Lane, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dr. Newell. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I spent a good bit of time looking at both the academic and the athletic supplements. And going through all of the supplements, it is weighted to the athletic supplements. About 419,000 to about, 413,000 to about 119,000. And I would like to see, more programs for the students that could participate. For example, robotics. I do know that in order to get individuals to do those programs, you're gonna have to pay them a supplement because it is after school. But it does give our students an opportunity at a young age, hopefully, maybe beginning in the elementary grades, to do literacy groups or to do robotics or to help them prepare as they move on to middle and to high school. And we spend a lot of money on athletics and those supplements. I did have a question because I do know that they receive an amount for an athletic supplement, but if they take them to region, they get an additional amount, and if they take them to the state level, they get an additional amount. But I'm not sure the same applies for the academic. There's nowhere to go. I mean, they basically can learn, but they don't have a way to go to region or to go to state at a young level. And so, anyway, I would like to look a little bit closer at this and to see some things that we could maybe offer to those that are in the academic areas.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Dr. Miller, am I correct in that most of what's listed as academic tend to be, I know we have the sports that's designated specifically sport, but most of what's in this academic are clubs and arts in the academic side, is that correct?
Yes, and then
For
also, like department heads, am I correct on that, Dr. Hancock?
Yeah,
Like a.
literary's on there, and robotics is on there, and one act is on there, and
Debate.
theater is on there, so yes, sir.
Band.
Band is on there.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So it's,
There's one extra supplement, it's a post-region supplement, and that's for any competitive group. If they make a playoff, then they get an extra supplement for the extra time that it's going to take for them to practice and so forth and so on.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
And there actually is, at both primary and the elementary level, a portion of those supplements are for grade chairs at each one of those levels so that they can have meetings and that, but it's $200 for the year. So I just wanted to look at those and see if we could do a little bit more for the academic side.
Thanks, ma'am. Anybody else? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Passes 4-1. All right. Next item on the agenda, Dr. Miller, is the request for approval to make an application for the state funding for the renovations to Lee County Primary School.
yes, sir. This is for state participation in the remodeling project for Lee County Primary School. As you know, that school opened in the mid-'80s, and we earn funding from the state through the capital outlay program for renovations of schools that reach a certain age. We anticipate a little more than $2.5 million of state funding in this project to remodel, update, modernize Lee County Primary School. and we need we have to make application because the legislature will approve that, in the spring when they meet for that.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. Lang. Is there a second? Second from Mr. McDowell. Any discussion? Do I have any idea what kind of money we're talking about here?
$2.5 million.
Two and a half million.
Well, the project is, we're thinking 900.
Yep.
Yes, sir, but this was under SPOS. Our hope is maybe even as soon as this summer to begin some preliminary work, and we wanna, we've had some meetings with the architect with the principal to talk about, we're gonna really, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be an incredible new facility, including a new gymnasium. Their gymnasium is much smaller than the Kinship Community Primary, and we're looking at some other, some possible classroom additions and you know, when you go in that building, you can't see, you go and there's the library's right in the middle, and one thing we've discussed is opening that up and relocating the media center and having a more robust drive-through area in the front, because traffic gets a little bit backed up there in the mornings or when it's raining. So we want to make, it's going to be really nice. So we need the state's participation to help defray the cost of the project.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Passes 5-0. Next item is the first presentation of a change to our executive session policy that's mandated by law. I believe the addition is one more item on the affidavit that we sign for what we have to, the few things that we can talk about in executive session. I know Phil Hartley discussed that in our last board meeting a little bit, but all the details of that are in your package there. I believe it relates to cybersecurity and a few other things like that. All right. Last item on the agenda is an executive session tonight. Ms. Lane?
I move that we go into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Ford. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Passes 5-0. We will come back after this executive session, but I have no idea how long it's going to take. You're welcome to hang out for it if you'd like. We may take up one other matter, not related to what all y'all are here for, but we may take up one other matter at the end of the meeting if you so choose to stick around. Thank you for coming. Is there a motion to reopen the regular meeting?
So moved.
So moved from Ms. Lane, second from Ms. Ford. All those in favor of reopening the meeting, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, Ms. Lane?
I would like to move that we extend Dr. Miller's contract for 1 year in appreciation for his service to the system and the board.
Second.
Second by Dr. Newell. Is there any discussion?
One thing I'd like to say is, and I've said this to you before, when you took this position on, I guarantee you nowhere did it say that you would have to go through what you've had to go through the last couple of years with this pandemic. So my hat's off to you, and I appreciate what you have to do and go through with this pandemic. And I mean, I know it's stressful. I know it's hard. I know it's not, you don't know all the answers, but I think in my mind, in my heart, that you have handled it very well. So, thank you.
I agree.
I will state publicly, especially since it's being recorded, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate the professionalism with which you lead the system, the deliberation that you give to making decisions, and yes, the extraordinary decisions that you have to make as it relates to code. As I've said to you in private, I've said to other folks who talk to me, we're all adults, and we don't always agree. But when we disagree, we learn to accept that fact and move on unified for the best of the system. a disagreement on a specific matter in no way diminishes the support that I have for you as superintendent and the administration of this school system. So I thank you for what you do. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Passes 5-0. I will declare our meeting